Welcome back to the Vatik podcast. I'm sitting down today with Doug Van Liew. He is the owner of Monster Clean, and he's also a real estate agent. I'm excited to have you on, man. We worked together as you were one of the first people that I had ever worked with when I got into the industry of marketing. And you at the time, you were purchasing Monster Clean, right? You had just purchased it.
Just purchased it. Yeah, I think you guys just went to that B&I meeting. I think that was like your first or second B&I meeting, and I had like just bought Monster Clean.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, if you guys want to look at, what we got going on. And then it was just, you guys were incredible. I still have that website and everything. It just
It's funny,
rakes
yeah.
in, so much money a year.
So I'm really interested. I reached out and I just thought about your story of acquiring Monster Clean. I think that acquiring a business, especially a smaller business, is something that is interesting that I've never done that before. What made you decide to buy a company? Had you bought one before?
I had not. I've been part of I was very familiar with starting up a company and growing a company from the ground with nothing. And I was just like, wow, there's gotta be a better way than that. Because you have to take a loss for at least like five. There's exceptions, but general rule of thumb is like you're taking a loss for 5 years, and some are a lot bigger than
Hmm.
others. I'm like, I can't do that.
So businesses had you been building before Monster Clean, before you bought that company?
So it wasn't necessarily ones that I've been building. I just been part of them, like
Okay.
working for, somebody in the family was starting them or a friend was starting them. And I've been doing real estate, and I was mostly blue collar before that. And then everybody was like, "Oh, you can't leave a government job and do
Hmm.
real estate. You're gonna, are you fucking retarded?" I'm just like, I'm literally already making more money than going to work, including the TSP and all that stuff. Like all
Hmm.
that is, I'll make everything that was in the TSP. I've already made more in 6 months
In real estate.
in real estate than 3 years of dealing with the fucking shipyard. you know,
So you were at the shipyard or working in blue collar field, went to real estate, started making more money there, saw the reward of kind of being your own boss.
right.
And then what led you to Monster Clean specifically?
So I was doing a flip, and I had met. So BNI is like, I feel like I'm pitching BNI a lot in this, but I met a business broker, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And I was doing a flip. I was started talking to him. I was like, I'm a numbers guy. I'm like, so what can we do? And he was like, going through the options. I was like, so you're telling me I could literally just buy with the proceeds of a flip that I'm doing, a cash flowing business that's already gone through the whole hurdles of, the initial brand recognition. You kind of know what the minimum amount it's
Mhm.
going to make. If you fuck that up, you shouldn't have been buying a business in the first place, kind of deal. I'm like, yeah. It's like,
Wow.
okay. And then so the flip is under its own LLC. So you use that LLC to purchase the business. So then there's all the tax benefits and this, that, and the other to that. And I was like, okay. So it came down to what I didn't want, which was I didn't want a restaurant. I didn't want food service. Didn't want a gas station. I didn't want a retail store. And then he was like, hey, I got a couple carpet cleaning companies. I was like, the fuck is carpet cleaning? Because I grew up in like an 1800s house with all wood floors,
Like, do people have carpet really?
I never had carpets. Like my apartment had carpets, but I didn't have to deal with that.
Uh-huh.
Like they dealt with all that. Showed me the numbers. Like, I'm not gonna become a multi-billionaire off of this, but
Yeah.
this is
So
pretty solid.
so when you say they showed you the numbers, like they show you what the business is making, and from there, did it look like it was a good investment off the bat, or did you know you'd have to do some work to get it
Yeah.
profitable?
So there's a few different angles to it because I didn't have a super ton of money, so I don't have didn't have the cash to buy a multi-million-dollar company with divisions and regional managers and all sorts of levels. This is just a mom and pop shop, right? So you got to look at the P&Ls over the past like basically existence, and those can get skewed pretty easily. So you also look at like how many reviews do they have? What's their reputation? What does their equipment look like? I wish I knew
Mm.
more about the equipment because it was all just totally band-aided over the past 20 years. And,
Yeah, but you didn't
you
know the
know, I didn't
equipment.
know the equipment. The website was okay performance wise, but like there were no call to actions. There like it was all just I think the previous owner knew everything there is about carpet clean. Like he was just super smart. But when it came to how to promote your business, it was all me, I, like no we or Monster Clean. It was just a autobiography about him.
Mm.
It was like, okay, well, what services do you offer? And you guys like help fix that. And you made like this, you were like, what'd you call the color palette or the,
Yeah, color palette, mood
yeah.
board.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is
I
that?
thought it was just a website.
I'm like, can you just make a website?
Yeah.
I'm like, you just started like going into like psychology of
Yeah.
colors and all that.
Josiah's a web
Yeah.
god. Shout out to Josiah because
Yeah.
he really knew the way around the web world, and he's who introduced me to that whole side of things, and still who we work with today. But yeah, I thought that it turned out really good, and the evolution was cool.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what did it cost to purchase Monster Clean? What did it cost to buy a business? Just to give people an idea, like what it looks like.
It was less than 6 figures.
Wow. I mean, that's in itself pretty impressive. Like the idea of
So it was
buying.
over 6 figures was the asking price. And I want to say I actually paid more than I wanted to, of course, because I'm an
Yeah.
investor and I want to know
But if you think
the
about
deal.
like,
But it was around 80 or 90, something like that.
okay. But if you think about like the potential of if you buy $80,000-$90,000 house, the most it's going to return is like maybe the value after you repair it, after it's been rented out for a certain amount of time, and you're dealing with all that, maybe like 200 grand you'll get back over like a decade, let's say,
Yeah.
right? But like the idea of being able to buy a business and that year making 200 grand, like
Yeah.
without having to wait for anything, like just from the, evolving the brand, that's pretty cool. That's pretty powerful. And then to not have to start from ground zero where you have nothing, no brand recognition.
So one carpet cleaning setup, not including the tools, just the basically the carpet cleaning machine and the van back then was about 80 grand
Wow.
for one setup, 70, 80 grand.
And what did that business come with? Did it come with a
It came
couple?
with 2 Vortex systems, which they weren't new.
Yes, you're buying used
Those
equipment.
those back then were about $120,000
So what do you think is the most
each.
valuable thing about buying a business? Is it the brand? Is it the people that are there? Is it the equipment? What I mean, I know there's a lot that was valuable, but what was the most?
So some of it's the culture and the kind of the cult following that you have, the whole package, the whole reputation. So I looked at another carpet cleaning company right before that, and it was more of the traditional kind of bait and switch, like a lot of Groupon, hey, we're going to come clean your whole house for $50. And then next thing you know, you've beaten down the customer for $1,000, and they just bought this Groupon thing and they're going to spend $50. I was like, well, that's not how I want to do business. Like, got to man people.
So the culture, reputation, the direction of the business, you felt like that was up front. That's what you
Yeah.
valued
Is
the
there a
most.
system? Is there a product that I can reproduce? Kind of like a lot of franchises do. Hey, how can we make this cheeseburger over and over and over again? And is that something I can do? Is there a process to where I can just hire somebody and within a couple weeks have them pretty well trained up? And I didn't know anything like, can I do this process?
Yeah.
And it wasn't really written down very well. So I had to kind of do that. Okay, we have a ton of different products. Who knows what to use and what not to use together? You're going to blow yourself up. Okay. And then on that note, I'm like, okay, well, what are we using that's toxic? Okay, let's make everything friendly to use, easy to use, and just streamline this. If I take one van, I can go to the next van and set up the same way, same products, and I know what to use for what situation. It's all written down, and there's a checklist, and everybody knows what to do.
So when you came in, it wasn't set up that way. It wasn't like super streamlined and clean. Did you fix a lot of that stuff?
Yeah. So there was, of course, there was some rehabbing to do. Whenever somebody's, most of the time, people go from, they still have that technician mindset when they have a business. Hey, got out of this and I can do this job really well. So they start the business and then they have a really good product, but they can't write it down what the process is. They can't.
They stuck as
They
the worker
Yeah,
almost, and
and
they're
then
just
to
trying to hire
train
other
other people.
workers.
Oh, like it's so hard to find good help that well, you just don't know how to train them. Of course, they're not good help. They don't know what the fuck to do. They're scared. You know,
Yeah.
most of us are scared the first time we do anything we've never done. Or they were trained the wrong way and they're just so beaten up by
Hmm.
the past employer that they don't want to fuck up.
So you bought this business and you knew nothing about carpet cleaning. You knew
Nothing.
nothing about tile cleaning or any of the other services. Did they teach you that? Like, did the owner teach you those things and how to manage the ship that he was driving at least?
A little bit. There's what was in the contract of how long he was supposed to stick around, but I think for a couple weeks, and then the crew kind of didn't like him compared to me. It's kind of mean to say, but they're like, "Can he leave?"
My gosh. So you brought culture in, you brought a pleasure to it just from a leadership standpoint that so do you have any of the people that initially were in the company around
Yeah,
now?
so John's been around, I think he's 10, 11 years now,
Wow.
and he was actually on paper, he didn't look that great. Like he couldn't pass the certification test and this, that, and the other. But he's one of the most tenacious employees I've ever seen. Loyal to a T. Customers ask for him. They're always writing good reviews about him. He just hadn't had an environment where he could kind of blossom and hey, let's do this and be patient. And then now he's just running with it. I don't have to babysit him, or nothing.
Yeah,
Just
that's awesome.
it's
You
just
got
taken
people who are
care of.
still around.
Yeah.
So you went from flipping a house to buying this business. Now, how many years has it been since you bought it?
So that was 2017. So that's what, 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 years ahead now, do you think that was a good investment?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was initially just supposed to be an invest, like kind of a, hey, let's put the profits from this into an investment account and, kind of hands off. But it unintentionally kind of grew into the primary and it surpassed
Wow.
real estate because lenders and stuff, they don't really want to lend out to low level, real estate investors and real estate agents and stuff because the cash flow just isn't steady and it's gone before you see it usually. And most people just spend it willy nilly. It's like, oh, I made, 100 grand off of this, that, and the other. And they're, next thing you know, it's gone because 100 grand these days
Yeah.
isn't anything business wise or real estate
Hmm.
wise. So it's like, okay, let's buy something that's cash flow and cash positive to where if I need to borrow against it and do another investment, I can do that because it's steady cash flow. I have the records, all this, that, and the other. And it's a relatively safe investment and it can recover pretty well. So, yeah, yes, a thousandfold.
That's awesome.
It's a good
And
investment.
compared to like a flip, it's there every single month. It's not something you have to necessarily constantly hunt for. You have to hunt for clients in a way, but it's not as hustly. I feel like in the sense of it can be built out to really be um, a system. That's like simplified and maybe not as complicated too. What would you say is the most challenging part of running a service based carpet cleaning business?
You have to scale at a reasonable rate. If you grow too fast, you kind of crush yourself. And then maintaining the quality standards and making sure that everybody knows what the standard is and how to win each job. You know, what's the standard, and we have the software and the systems and training to where everybody knows what it means to meet the standard. If it's not that standard, you're not taking pictures, you're not making sure that the quality isn't there, then people are going to stop using you, and they're going to be real pissed off real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to see your profits just go super fast. So it's kind of hard once it's up and running. It's kind of hard to mess it up, you know.
Yeah, because it's like a needed service. It's just straightforward. It's not like it needs explaining to. It seems like a very applicable thing that people just need.
Yeah, it's not a hard sell. It's
Your carpet's dirty.
not like, hey, you need a gold plated toilet.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
why the fuck do I need a gold plated toilet?
I love businesses like that, and I envy businesses like that where it's like clear as day, like a bottle of water doesn't really need to explain itself,
Right.
you know? And I think that businesses like that are really cool where the service is just in demand and it's just more so having the reputation, having the brand, and having the processes to make it an easy, good experience for them. Um, where you're at right now, what would you say your focus is with Monster Clean from like a business standpoint?
Business standpoint is to scale larger to a comfortable amount to where there's well, how do I explain this?
When you say larger, does that mean more trucks, more crew?
So
Um,
don't necessarily need more trucks, always room for, so can more effectively, we're pretty efficient, so we can handle a good size with just two trucks. One truck really can handle, you know, hundreds of jobs a month,
mhm,
depending on what they are, where they are,
right.
this, that, and the other. The more trucks you have, kind of the more area coverage you can do and types of jobs and things like that. So diversification and being able to scale more areas and service more people and businesses to where we can utilize both the daytime and the nighttime, because a lot of businesses you have to do nighttime. So probably more so commercial is what we need to scale up.
Commercials better in the business.
It's different. So daytime tends to be more residential. So we're pretty residential heavy and fills up most days. So
Understood.
evenings and nights and weekends is usually when
That's where you can
business
make a
can.
commercial
So
money.
we have all this, time gap
Hmm.
after all these hours. It's like,
That you can
hey,
fill.
that we could fill and help out all these businesses and give them the same
So you're
quality.
pretty residentially um, based right now, but that's like I guess your bread and butter kind of in a
That's
way.
that's the constant.
Yeah.
It's we do a lot. Of course, we do commercial already, but not nearly at the residential rate. We'll
Yeah.
do anywhere from 5 to 10 plus residential jobs a day, and then a few commercial jobs a week.
I feel like commercial could be more regional too.
Hmm.
Because, like, how often does a whole office need its carpet cleaned? I would think, like, maybe once every few years or something.
Yeah, some do like once a year, some
And there's just less
once 20 a
offices.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there's less offices than there are houses. So that's probably why there's more volume of work, I would think, too. Like, for every office, I bet there's 10 living spaces.
Yeah.
Um, have you thought about scaling into different regions or different areas like Richmond or I see some of these companies going like DC, like they'll go all there. Do you like that or do you?
Yeah, so the trick, so whenever I kind of keep my thumb off the pulse of just truck maintenance and quality, you really have to have people you can trust to maintain equipment and stuff that isn't theirs to a high standard. Hey, some machines they need the oil change like religiously right on the dot at this time. Belts look for any wobbling, wear, just little things, and know what to do when that stuff fails without freaking out, and just being
Right.
having the mentality to just take care of it. And that's hard to do once you don't have that control, so to speak.
Hmm.
So if I found the right person that could do that, because I can't, I'm not can't, but I'm not going to Richmond every day. I'm not going to
Yeah.
DC every day. That would have to almost pretty much be its own entity, its own location,
Right.
so that would have to be somebody really trust. And
Yeah.
he or she is out there, but I haven't found them.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. The right people in a service-based
Yeah.
business is huge.
Don't steal, don't, rip people off,
Mhm.
because I've hired people where, hey, GM had their own carpet cleaning company for like 30 years. And I was like, wow, you're really raking in the dough a lot. And he was doing the shady practices,
Mm.
like just upselling without telling them that they were upselling them. Like, okay, your bill went from 300 to 900 or whatever. And like I'm like, did they realize
That it went up to
that it
that or
went up
something?
that amount? Like, did you talk to him about it? Yeah, no, it didn't.
Wow. So
One
they would
person.
just like charge their card and that would just be it,
I
not tell
mean,
them?
he'd tell them at the very end because they have to give him the card, and then
Right.
they were like,
But almost pressuring them into that.
yeah, just put him on the spot of like, you're paying
Wow.
this. And then there was one time where he was like, if you don't pay, I'm gonna call the cops and threaten them with like theft of services. I'm just like, and they hit me up, and I've it all kind of happened all at once of like putting the dots together that like that happened, and as
Mm-hmm.
before I even got wind of that, I fired him because
Right.
like he also used my card at like the bar, like it was just like all at once. I was just like,
Wow.
dude, go get out of my life, get out of my business.
The
I,
right people is definitely
started
important.
bad reviews started rolling in, and then like the people that he threatened with threats of services, whatever, like they hit me up like, hey, we've been customers for like 10. I was like, I know, I'm sorry, I missed a customer. He's been let go. It was a bad business
Bad
decision
experience.
on
Yeah.
my end to even have that person in my house.
That's what's scary about bringing people into your company is that possibility of them messing up that reputation, you know? What do you feel like is most important to look at when you're hiring or thinking about bringing somebody on? Like, I think that a lot of times it's like some people look at the qualifications, other people might look at just their energy. What do you feel like you look at the most?
I feel like we've all been duped so many times, but a lot of it's just kind of the overall package. I tend to look for somebody who you can kind of tell when they're under promising, over delivering, or yeah, under promise and then they kind of over deliver. They're modest but not too modest. Versus the, yeah, man, I got that. I've done that plenty of times. Yeah, I've done this and that. And, yeah. No sweat, no sweat. And then 9 times out of 10, you put them on there. And I had one like didn't even know how to hook up a garden hose to a spigot, like literally. I've been doing this for 40 years.
So modesty and
Modesty and just kind of the ethics and core values need to align.
hmm,
And you could teach all the rest. Is it somewhat physically demanding? Yeah, your body kind of gets you. It's like doing a hard vacuuming,
hmm. I feel like it would be
with a
almost
really
healthy
hard
though, like
suction.
the like you could look at it as like you're being active on your work. It's not as laborious as like roofing, right?
Yeah, so sometimes I'll go into I'll just spend a month like cleaning carpets myself, and you can always tell when I've been doing it because it's just like
Dang,
I
Doug's looking
start getting
ripped.
jacked, ripped,
The RX
lose the
220.
weight. Like, try not to do it on the 100 degree days,
That's
but
funny.
that also helps to like I do that to help with the quality of life for the employees too. Like,
Mhm.
hey, this really sucks doing it this way, huh? They're like, yeah. Like, all right, so okay, electric hose reels.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck am I gonna spend the money on that? And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
they're cranking. And this is like it's 100 degrees. You just clean like this McMansion, and
Yeah.
just like so miserable. I'm like, wow, this fucking sucks. All right,
Mhm.
let's fix that. you know,
Do you think making the workplace enjoyable for the people doing the work in a physically demanding job is important? Do you think like trying to make it as easy on them, is that a priority for you?
Yes, because I've worked absolutely miserable jobs where it was no luxuries at all. It's just like, so I know what it's like being in when everything is just completely miserable, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're using miserable equipment, miserable tools, and then if you're being yelled at the same time for no fucking reason, like just somebody who's just micromanaging the shit out of you, like
Mm-hmm.
you hired me to be a professional to do this job. Leave me unless I'm fucking up.
Right,
If
right,
I'm truly fucking up, and there's a difference
right.
between fucking up and just not doing it your goddamn way.
Uh-huh.
Like let me just fucking do it, all right? you
Yeah,
know.
and the more they like their job, the more likely they're not gonna fuck up your job.
Yeah, it's like, okay, and is the customer happy? Was the standard met?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
So, you've had some success with Monster Clean. Have you been enjoying the business, would you say?
Yeah, there were some times where it was a love hate, but
Yeah. In the end.
overall, it's been a lot more fun than I thought of because it's like carpet cleaning, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like the people you meet, people are very gracious towards
Mm-hmm.
you, which is weird and a lot different from real estate. It's like real estate is kind of everybody knows an agent and this, that, and the other. And like, oh, you're just a sleazy agent.
Yeah.
All you do is just show houses, which obviously there's more than that, but it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the end they're like, oh wow, you got me this amazing deal and this, that, and the other. So it's like they're fighting against you the entire time, and then at the end they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
With carpet cleaning, monster clean, it's like they call you excited that you can fit them in, and we have like this a lot of repeat clients. They're like, oh, I hope you have room this month. Can you fit me? Yes, ma'am. Let's get you out the schedule. They're like happy to pay. They're like, oh, I referred you to,
Seven people.
Susan,
Yeah.
this, that, and the other.
That's great when they
And
do
it's just
that.
so it's a lot of like instant dopamine, especially for like being super ADHD. It's like, yes, yes, yes. They're happy. We won. We won.
That's awesome. Like it's cool when your business thrives off doing good work.
Yeah.
It directly translates to more business. Um, Someone who's thinking about buying a business, where do you start?
So you don't have to be rich to buy a business, which I always thought was like, oh man, it must be ungodly expensive to buy a business. And you don't necessarily have to come up with the cash on hand. You can get private investors, friends that you trust. I typically steer away from friends, but there's some relationships that work, and just you have to have those same core values, the same mentality, the business mentality of, hey, this is the rules, and are you a silent partner, are you this, that, and the other. And then I definitely recommend a good knowledgeable business broker that knows what to look for, and they already have insights on that business and can kind of help you look at what you're doing, and then have that power team, have a strong accountant that can look at numbers, have a good business attorney. I had all that. I had a business attorney who helped me out with a ticket back in like '06, and then he became a real estate client, and then he became I became his client again, with like business and everything. He's still my business attorney. So always bouncing ideas off of him, what this, that, and the other. So you kind of need a power team in essence of a network that you can trust to help you make those decisions, because you can't be an expert on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just starting to
That's
get
good
into
advice.
business, there's no way you can force, and there's still shit that nobody caught, but we were able to fix it and catch it early on. Like, hey, this is what's fucking happening. We're fucking up. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's move the ship before it crashes and make those small adjustments while you can. You know what to look for versus, and then kind of call bullshit on what's going on. So you see P&Ls and kind of, okay, well, what's their debt that I'm not going to have? What are they? needlessly spending money on, resources on,
That you can
that I
just
don't need
cut.
to, because
Yeah.
I leaned the business up. We had like 20 employees at one point, and that's when I kind of like grew too fast, and I was just like, "Hey, you have a pulse, come on board," you know. And then it's like, okay, I'm doing a lot of work, and we're super busy, but I'm not making any fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like 40, $50,000 loss. But I'm like, I'm not running anything efficiently. I have everybody busy, but nobody's being efficient. You know, just paying everybody. I'm not paying myself. Okay, so let's lean up. Let's see who's working, who shares the, let's dial it back to the values, to the work ethics, all this, that, and the other. You don't even have to be the best quality, best technician. Just, are you a good person, basically?
Mm-hmm.
And just knocked them down to like two people. And
Wow.
we did more with two people than any other year in the business.
You did more with 2 people than you did with 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just on, because just like you want your A clients, B clients, what are your ideal customers? You have to use that with what's your ideal employee on your team. A B employee will hold down an A employee all day long.
Mm-hmm.
If you're allowing that C employee to get away with that fucking shit, that A employee is going to look and be like, why the fuck am I carrying 10 goddamn buckets of water? And this motherfucker doesn't even have to know where the bucket
He's over
is.
there smoking a cigarette.
And that's what it was like working at the shipyard at a federal level.
Mm-hmm.
Was, hey, they realize you can carry 10 buckets of fucking water. And then if one day you're like, man, I'm burnt. I can only do 5 today. You get written up, but then you'll have a motherfucker who's always in the smoke shack smoking all goddamn day and carries like half a bucket,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's just what's
That's
expected.
common in the
That's
shipyard.
what's
It's
expected,
crazy.
and they'll promote that motherfucker because fuck up, move up is like the motto there. Like that's the first thing you fucking hear. I'm like, at first I was like, no, they're just fucking, joking. No, it's like, see, like, so like people, supervisors, like signing off on shit of like miles of pipe work that wasn't installed, get caught, then promoted to like a zone manager. Like, okay,
Wow.
well, we can't fire you, so we're going to move you from this position to this position where you're not really in charge of anybody, but so you can just not be in charge of this and fuck that
It's
up.
crazy.
So it's like, and that's demoralizing, like, especially like how I felt in that position. Like, I was just a worker bee, so I'm like, I'm here busting my
Nothing makes
ass, doing
sense.
everything fucking legit, and this motherfucker's getting promoted.
Sitting on his phone,
Yeah,
chilling.
like, I don't want to do that.
It's
I don't want
crazy.
that kind of environment either. Like, so, and that brings down a lot of companies. So I've been helping a lot of other businesses too. And once you start indulging yourself into the business community too, a lot of people have these same problems. How do I grow? How do I fucking hire? How do I do this? How do I do that? I'm stuck. I've been doing the same volume for 5 fucking years, spinning my wheels. What's wrong? Well, is it the owner? Is it the culture? Is it the customer? Is it the fucking product? A lot of times it's the prices. Like, oh, well, you're just getting the people that want the cheapest person out there, cheapest company out there,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not going to refer. And when they do refer you, they're referring you to the C client, the DEF client,
Yeah.
you know, because they're like, oh, that motherfucker's cheap as shit.
Yeah.
Go call them up. And and then you get the worst client. And then those clients that just want the cheapest work out there, of course, they want the best quality, but you can't give them the best quality or the best product. So then they write you a bad review, and that just
It's the
drags your
worst.
business
Yeah.
down.
I feel like it's not always true, but I feel like there's 2 types of businesses. There's the type of business that always focuses on making it the cheapest product possible for
Mm-hmm.
the cheapest clients possible. And then there's the businesses that are always trying to make the best products for the best customer as possible. I think both work,
Yeah,
like I think if you look at like McDonald's, right? They're like, how can we get our burger cheaper? How can we get the dollar menu down to 50-cent menu?
right.
They're going down, and that attracts the people who are now. I think that works if it's a really simple product that's not that detailed. But I think if you have a more complicated product, when you're trying to go for that cheaper market, it doesn't work. Like when you're doing consulting or you have a roofing company or a painting company, and there's like different layers involved, and you're going for the cheap clients, it's not simple like McDonald's is.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times the service-based business is positioning for quality is a better, like the customer that wants the good, better company. I feel like that's a better place to be than being the company that someone just wants to go with because it's cheap. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get over a cheap cheeseburger, a cheap meal that was horrible pretty
Yeah.
quickly,
Yeah.
like within minutes. I've had a shitty meal and then I immediately had to go get something else, even though I wasn't hungry, just to get that fucking taste out of my mouth.
Uh-huh.
Like, brush my teeth. They were like, okay, well,
Yeah.
what can I bake to just get that taste out of my mouth? But that also goes with when you've had a shitty anything else too. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
You had a crappy carpet cleaner,
yeah,
stain still
we get
there.
those calls all the fucking time. Like, this cleaner came, we got, what was it? Cleaner came, did half the job, and then just fucking left
Wow.
because
Yeah.
they were the cheap guy and
Yeah.
realized, oh wow, this is a lot more work.
They were trying to sell 50-cent
They were,
hamburgers, and the
yeah,
client needed a Five Guys burger.
right. So
Shout out
then
Five
they,
Guys.
right. I expected this today. I'm hungry. So then they call us and then they left money on the table because they were willing to pay us more to fix their fuck up and do it the right way. And like there's local competitors that are my friends, like their van like shit the bed, needed to be repaired, didn't know what was wrong with it. Hey bro, borrow one of mine.
Wow.
You know, that only helps me. He's fucking driving my van around. Fully logoed up. The
Oh
neighbors are
my
seeing it.
gosh.
And truth be told, he actually does more of a process and he's actually does a better product than me. I'm not going to say who. But I mean, we'll do the entire process that he does when it's needed. And one of his downfalls is he'll do the entire like over the top process for carpets that don't really need it.
Mm.
So it's not that he's necessarily better. He does the same full on like go
Sometimes
hard process. Like you don't need
you're trying to give the customer the most value
right. You
for their
don't
money
you
versus
don't need to wax your
necessarily.
car every time that you fucking wash it.
Mhm.
Like and that's kind of
Yeah.
and I and over the years we've become friends and like we talked it out. I'm like, dude, you're doing all of this work and you're charging less than me.
Yeah.
And then I hit him in the nuts. I was like, because he's out like over an hour away from me, right? So I was like, people pay me extra, like an extra trip charge, and I'm more expensive for me to go out to your fucking neighborhood instead of using you, and you're doing more than me, like
Yeah.
more work. I was like,
What do you think? Do you think that's brand? Do you think that it's just who's gotten to the customer first a lot of the
some of it's
times?
brand, but like also like we're both on like Google local services and stuff like that. So and there's no real like whatever. I
Yeah.
have way more reviews,
Yeah. It's just who
but
gets to it first, really.
over the years been working on him like, hey, here's the process because he does great work. I'm like, great dude, great work, all like the whole package. I'm like, dude, if he was like, hey, I need to move to like a different like to Richmond or something, I'd be like, let me buy you a van and like we'll go in on it. You could just like
Hmm.
he's somebody I would trust. I
Hmm.
have trust. Like I was busy working on another venture and I was like, dude, I need somebody to kind of like do the managerial work. And I just gave him full access to my business. He did a great job. He borrows a van, turns it back, does maintenance. I don't even fucking do. Like he's just a good
Yeah.
fucking dude. So I'm like, here's a process. And then because he was old school, you know, paper invoices, this, that, and the other. I'm like, here's literally a system to where you're gonna double your income. Here's your price structure. Here's a fucking go electronic. here's what you need to get more reviews. And he's been rocking and rolling. He's like, and he fought me for about 6 months to a year before he like started to actually listen. I'm like, but then I think it was like really when I was like, people are paying me extra to come out to your neighborhood,
Yeah.
like right behind your house,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
That it's like, fuck, you're right. you know.
That's yeah, that's I think a lot of times it's just who gets to the customer first too, because if you explain the value and the value's there and your price is relatively what makes sense. A lot of times they're not going to price shop. And if they do, they're not usually the right customer anyways. Like the one that's
Yeah,
going to go, I'm going to go get some other quotes. Like, look, do you want to work with the right company or do you not?
and it's funny. So when I was at, and we're not like astronomically expensive, but by no means are we like the cheap guys. When I was pricing at lower prices, I was getting a lot more of those calls, a lot more price shoppers, and a lot more kickback of like, oh, you're fucking crazy, you fucking robbing people. I raised my prices to like a certain, and I did a few different price points, and like the one that I'm currently at, I don't really get the kickback. Like I still get, it's usually just oh, that's too much for me, and they're polite
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
and then, or it's just okay, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I've even had ones, hey, go ahead and upcharge. Like if there's any additional services, like go ahead, put
Go ahead and
more,
just do it. Yeah.
and they'll like tip my guys more. I'll be
Yeah.
like, so we're priced near the top of the market, whatever that means these days,
Mhm.
and then they're tipping
Yeah.
like $100 extra to the tech,
Right.
like versus
That's
when you're
awesome.
the cheap guy, they're not tipping you, they're not leaving reviews, and you're doing all this work and spending all this money, and you're probably riding around on a piece of shit equipment where you're
Mhm.
miserable. You're not fucking but I've heard, oh, but it does a great. No, it doesn't.
Right. Right.
Like, dude, you haven't used this new fucking shit that's like works when you turn it on.
Where do you see most of your customers coming from as a carpet cleaning company?
So a lot of referrals, a lot of repeat, a lot of like real estate professionals, property management companies, and then Google. A lot of just the website. I
Hmm.
still haven't updated the website from when you guys made it. I keep telling myself to do it, but it just keeps working.
You've ran
But
local service ads and
local service ads, I've tried Facebook a few times. Every time I do, I kind of regret it.
mm,
A lot of the Facebook ads, they want the 50% off, you know,
an offer to get them in. Yeah.
like, and then even cheaper than that offer.
Yeah.
And most of half the
So,
3/4 of those messages are, so what's the lowest you can go? I'm like, do you go into a fucking restaurant
and ask what's the
and
lowest to
ask
go.
like, hey, this fucking lobster looks fucking delicious, and I know you're the best lobster in town, but I was wondering if you could, if I could just give you $5 for it, today, and
Yeah.
because that's what I feel is worth. It's worth.
My counter to people who are, talk about the price like that and saying, can you bring it down? Is we definitely can if you're okay with less value and less quality.
Yeah,
Like, sure. Like, but your lobster is now going to be made out of tofu.
yeah.
We could do that. You just have to be okay with it.
I
Like,
know. I'm usually pretty good with like customer service. That's probably the main thing that like irks me is when they really start. Like if you're just like, hey, that's just too expensive for me. I
yeah.
can't. I
Sometimes
get
it's a
that.
numbers thing,
I
maybe
can't fucking
flipping or
afford a
something.
Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go in a Lamborghini and be like, oh, you're fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. That's the
Or
funniest thing.
like I'm gonna
It's
be
like,
like,
look, that
it's just
Lamborghini's not
this.
expensive. You're just poor.
Yeah, it's just like I can't fucking afford it.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
okay, and I get that. If you can't afford me, great, and I'll refer them to like, hey, look, these, their quality is not as good, but it'll be good. Like, because a lot of times it's just a tenant turnover, it's a
Hmm.
rental. They're not living there any longer. They just want it to appease the lease, and it's
Hmm.
apartment complex. Like, you don't need to spend
Yeah.
top dollar on. Like, if you want to use me for that, great, but hey, here's somebody who's not going to rip you off, good enough, and they'll provide the invoice. They're legit. They're paying their taxes and all
Hmm.
that stuff. And they'll be less than me, probably a little bit more friendly for you. And I'll do that all day long if you're nice on the phone. But if you're gonna be a jerk, like I don't want
Yeah,
to.
get out of here.
Yeah, like oh, I have somebody who can do it less. Well, I have people that pay more.
Yeah,
You
people
know.
take prices they can't afford personally.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like people will see a price of something they can't afford and they take it personally versus looking internally and say, how can I somehow afford that? Like
Yeah.
rather than take it as like a challenge, they take it as a personal insult.
Yeah. So it's like, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about doing businesses and commercial work, especially when I get to deal with like a small or medium sized business, is they get it. They get the value, they get the price, and they know what go. Like I'm not making that whole pie. Like I don't just take that whole piece of pie
And just take it
and
home.
put it in my
Yeah.
fridge.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I get like a little
Yeah.
blueberry out of that blueberry
Yeah.
pie, and they know that. It's like just the payroll tax alone will make them squeamish.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so the conversations are different. It's also why I tend to lean more towards like investors in real estate. It's numbers and it's more facts and not feelings.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we want to feel good at the end, but okay, and I tell myself that all the time whenever I'm starting to get worked up. I have Adam's words in my head, and he's like, is it fact or is it fucking feelings? It's like accept your feelings, but also fuck your feelings.
Go with the facts.
What are the
Business.
facts in this story? Like, fuck the whole story behind the excuses and this, that, and the other. And a lot of times it just comes down to, did I prioritize this or not? Like, did I prioritize being able to afford this? No. No, I did not. All the fucking stories, all this, that, and the other. I knew at the end of my lease, or I knew at my move out, or I knew I had this event. Did I budget for this fucking cleaning?
Dude, you know what I did not budget for? My 1-year-old black terrier ripping to shreds my carpet where the doors closed where her food bowl is where we were going. She took like a 1 by 1 foot section of carpet and just destroyed it. I'm not getting my deposit back for that house.
No.
And no Monster Clean can come save the day.
No. It'll be a really clean, damaged area.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to ask in terms of like Monster Clean moving, positioned in your life. Business is a part of our lives, but it's not our lives. It shouldn't be. I think true happiness is like when business allows you to do other things in life too. What do you feel like you enjoy the most outside of Monster Clean? What is it that you find yourself trying to seek enjoyment in? And we love business. We're always in it.
Yeah.
We're always loving that. But what do you love outside of the business?
So traveling is probably the top. Just travel wherever internationally. I love Italy. It's
Me too,
such
man.
a great fucking place.
I think I'm gonna move there. Like I'm
thought-
saving it for like my 40s, but I think I'm moving there.
I really want to buy it, like especially like Gaeta. Like it's just I don't know if you've been
Is that
there.
East Coast or West Coast?
West Coast.
West. Okay, north or south?
It's in between Naples and Rome.
Okay.
It's like this little nipple. Right in
Okay. Yeah.
between.
I loved Florence and like the whole western province, Tuscany.
Mhm.
Love Italy.
Yeah.
The food. You know what I love about Italy and most of Europe? When you go to the grocery store, you don't have to think, is this food like safe for me? Like, does it have a bunch of chemicals and red 40 and all this stuff? Like, no, it's just an onion, dude. It's just a potato. It's just a fresh cut of meat. Like, I like that you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's like everything you get there is going to be good for you most of the time.
But sometimes you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
So Gaeta was like this small town, especially the old Gaeta place, and there was like no like actual like legit grocery stores. Just kind of the small cobblestone roads. Like you go into this little like row house looking thing, and it's kind of a grocery store. And I was like, oh, frozen, because I was there for like a 6-month contract working on a ship out there. And I was like, okay, this looks like an innocent package. It had like a penguin and shit on it. I think it's probably frozen chicken nuggets or some shit.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking octopus.
Octopus. They love their seafood in Europe.
Yeah, which is great. But I'm like, okay, but fuck, Ram, you didn't teach me how to make a fucking octopus.
Everybody thinks
I know how to make
Italian.
everything Italian except for goddamn octopus.
Well, everybody thinks Italian food is like spaghetti, and like over there you'll have like a pizza or some kind of rigatoni. But like in reality, it's like a lot of seafood.
Yeah.
Like everything's like mussels, clams, crustaceans of some sort. Like the prawns. Prawns is like something I
Yeah.
saw over there. Like,
And you order like each course. Like
yeah.
going out to
Oh,
eat is like a luxury, and it's meant to be a very long experience.
and they make you feel okay with that.
Yeah, most people and like they take the service industry like with pride. Like if you're a waiter or waitress, they're so prideful in that
Which makes
and
sense. It's the best part
appreciative.
of life. Eating food is the
Yeah,
best part of
and
life.
like because that's what brings everybody together. Like weddings, funerals, fucking initiations, everything is
Yeah.
like revolved around food. So, and that's just what they appreciate is like food and family and just breaking bread together.
Dude, let's just move to Italy. Let's just move to Italy. Let's just
Fucking, we'll figure it the
yeah.
fuck
We'll
out.
we'll be two non-Italian speaking business owners.
Hey!
Yeah, a carpet cleaning, marketing.
I'm not doing carpet cleaning
No,
there.
they don't have carpets in Italy. Probably a
No.
lot of tile. A lot
Yeah.
of tile.
I like tile. I think that's probably my favorite is tile and grout cleaning.
Tile. What do you see Monster Clean being as a business 10 years from now? Are you involved still? Is it just something that is just a passive income source? Is it national? Is it what do you see it becoming?
I think there's too many options.
Don't know. You're just doing the
I
work.
can't lock into one.
Yeah.
Like it's
I respect that.
it's like I was like, do I franchise it? Do I just kind of grow it really big? Do I start doing satellites? What kind of what I'd kind of like to do is start buying more companies that are already kind of established, kind of basically do the same deal and then make them into monster cleans.
Mini Monster Cleans wherever they are. Buy other business for
Right. Kind of
$80,000.
just do what I already did. I already know what I'm going to run into. Like mistakes like, hey, I should have just straight out the get-go gone a new setup.
Yeah.
You know,
Getting a manager in place to then take care of that
Right.
business.
Train them up so they can reproduce the standard.
That's cool.
And then
That would be fun.
and then it's already making money versus like, hey, let's go into a new area with fucking nothing. And I don't have millions and millions of backup like some of these franchises have. Like I can't compete. I'm not going to compete. We're not on the same path. Not at this time. So, but as far as like we're one of the largest locally owned mom pop, level small businesses, carpet cleaning in the areas. As far as household names, aside from some of the franchises, we're pretty well known.
Yeah.
So, but outside of here, we'd have to start fresh or buy something that has a similar reputation, purchase that
Yeah.
or partner with that.
So
Especially
still
if they're
figuring that
if
out.
they're running it right. Why not just fucking keep them on board and have them run it even better?
Yeah, just show them how to do it. So
Because
you're still figuring that out. I respect that because I think when you corner yourself to just one direction, then you're not looking at the other potential ways that you could go about it. So
you don't want to get too right. Like you want to be strategic. You want to be intentional. But if you get too focused, like too far close, that probably looked kind of weird. But then you get too close to your target,
right.
and then you can't see everything that's going around you. Okay, how do I adjust? I got this dog coming,
Right.
on the right side, but I'm so focused on this fucking little shiny piece of metal right in front of me, I don't see that opportunity in that. So it's like this weird blend of just kind of being opened. Hey, I'm gonna continue to grow, but also see where it goes.
Just doing the right things and focus on what you can control now.
Can I control this? No. Can I control what the fucking economy does? No. Do we know how to adjust to it? Yeah. And that's, to go back to your point of, what do you look at? Carpet cleaning survived multiple recessions. It survived 9/11. It survived a pandemic. It actually did better in the pandemic.
Yeah. People
So
are all trying to get everything clean.
whatever. So it's like, it's pretty fail safe to an event. Like
As long as there's carpet
you're, well, we
or
do
tile.
tile and grout,
Yeah.
like wood floors,
Yeah, as long as floor
commercial.
surfaces need cleaned, which is basically
Yeah,
forever. Every
you know,
floor surface will always need
commercial
cleaned.
took a hit during the pandemic because
Mhm.
businesses weren't allowed to really operate. Like we had some really big contracts that we do, twice a year, 30, 40,000 square feet buildings and more.
All right.
But everybody just went remote and they're like, we're not even going to renew our lease here.
Wow. Yeah.
Like you can
But
clean the
residential
hallway if
picked
you
up, so it
want.
balances out.
Right. So it was kind of like we did, I don't know, 70, 80 grand more than any other year with the pandemic. All by
Yeah.
chance. We didn't do like any additional marketing just
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the call them beer money guys, they disappeared. They couldn't keep up and people were being more intentional with their spending. They're like, hey, if I'm going to spend $1, I want to spend the $1 on the right thing than spend $1 on the wrong thing. So they went from, there's been like kind of a quality shift of, yeah, I want cheap, but I'm not willing to sacrifice. And then it's like, okay, well, I can't sacrifice quality and I'm not going to get cheap because even the cheap guys aren't cheap anymore. So I just have to shell out the extra money. It's like, hey, I'm only going to have to do this like once a year. It's not a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
Although I've thought about that.
A monthly subscription. Yeah.
Yeah.
That carpet would be done by the time it'd be
Right.
like there'd be no fibers left.
Right.
Well, I think we got a lot of good, valuable information today. Maybe there'll be people watch this that have their own carpet cleaning companies, but I think the big takeaway that I got today from this was like you can buy a business, you can build something that isn't necessarily from the ground up sometimes too, or take different parts of people's businesses and utilize them versus just having to always reinvent the wheel or do it completely from scratch. So
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting, really valuable. So, well, in terms of Monster Clean, what is it that what are the different service areas, and then how can people, if they need to utilize those services, what's the best way to work with you guys?
Yeah. So we do all of Hampton Roads, even some into North Carolina. We have a little family place in the Outer Banks. So with the right scheduling, we can go down to the Outer Banks and get that knocked out. And then a lot of times just our website, monsterclean.com. There's ways to book on. You can book up right online, go on the scheduling. You can message us through there, text us 757-523-1175.
You guys actually answer the phone?
We
You
do.
know how many service businesses don't answer the phone? I
A
called
lot.
3 tint companies yesterday to get my car tinted,
Yeah.
all running Google ads.
Yeah.
No
way.
answer, no call back.
Yeah.
Like, how are you spending money on Google ads and like not answering the phone? It's just insane. Like, don't spend the money on the Google ads then.
Yeah. Oh,
You
we get it
know?
all the time. Oh, thank God, you guys. I don't care what you charge. You answered your phone.
Yeah.
And we're just like,
Yeah.
we could be the worst company in the world.
Yeah. Just answer the dang
Just
phone.
answer the phone.
Well, cool, man. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you coming out, sharing wisdom, insight as someone who's been through a lot of these business struggles, and hopefully people get a lot of value out of hearing what you had to say.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.